So something that's really nice that's been on my heart and mind a lot lately is what happens when an introverted feeler is also on the autism spectrum. So as we know, introverted feeling is that internal sense of this is me, this is not me, this is how I feel, this is what I'm experiencing internally. I relate to other people by relating to myself first. I'm not necessarily directly attuned to what's happening emotionally in the social atmosphere around me. So, and we also know the autism spectrum. One thing I love about it, well, that some people don't always love, but that I kind of like about it is that there can be kind of some social struggles with it, but there can also be some positive things about it. So when you combine that with introverted feeling, you could potentially have a person who's very focused on their own interests, because we know with the autism spectrum, you can focus a lot on your special interest. One of the things is a very narrow focus, and that's also kind of one of the strengths, like just the hyper focus on things. And when you combine that with introverted feeling, you basically could have a person who very much struggles to focus on something that's not either very personally meaningful or otherwise genuinely interesting to them. Like, for example, if I'm coding and doing something very technical, I might sometimes have trouble just focusing purely on that and putting aside, say, my desire to express myself through poetry, for example. Or I might have trouble putting aside my desire to learn more about psychology or my desire to explore more my identity. So that's another thing. So also with introverted feeling, you also very much want an identity and sense of community to cling to, and even that's what introverted feeling itself can be in a way, and also what being on the autism spectrum can be. I know it's a really special feeling to read books about what it's like to be an introverted feeler. It's a really special feeling to read about what it's like to be on the autism spectrum, because, well, we can relate to it, and our introverted feeling wants what we can relate to. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people want what they can relate to, but I feel like that's magnified with the introverted feeling. So there's that. And another thing is sometimes we even like our special interests so much that we're embarrassed by them. We might even be embarrassed in front of ourselves because of how much we like them. I mean, for example, like I used to write a lot of stories with fictional characters that were basically like personifications, a little bit like I talked about in my previous video, and I would just be so embarrassed in front of myself for creating these characters, almost as if I liked them so much that it embarrassed me. And but I kind of need to get past that and just continue to write anyway. And though I do overall consider myself more of a poetry writer, as you know. So there's also another thing is being on the autism spectrum, we might sometimes get criticized if we don't always know the right thing to do socially, and that's really frustrating and draining and upsetting, because with introverted feeling, we tend to take things very personally. I know I do, and it's very embarrassing too. Like if somebody says it's not socially appropriate to do something, like I'll want to withdraw from the conversation. It'll be just too uncomfortable for me to just stay in that as if nothing happened, because I see that I have trouble possibly even interpreting that or not interpreting that as an attack on who I am and my values and my intentions. So that's another thing with introverted feeling. We want to see our people to see our motives for what they actually are, and I just think that that's a struggle, but I like it because it makes me a part of who I am, and I wouldn't be me any other way. So you just kind of have to appreciate who you are, right? That's what introverted feeling is all about, and part of why I like it so much. So another thing is we don't always react socially appropriately to the emotions of others. Like maybe somebody tells a joke, we're not necessarily directly attuned to their desire for me to laugh at it, or for you to laugh at it. We kind of, because that first has to pass through a filter of, well, do I think this is funny? And if I don't find it funny, I find that I can't really force myself to find it funny just for the sake of being social, though as much as I do like the person and I am enjoying them and having a good time, and it's nothing personal. It's just a struggle to find that direct attunement with what the other person would like me to do. And that can be a tiny bit frustrating in a way as well, but it's okay. I wouldn't be any other type. I wouldn't be anything else. I just like the idea of being unique just like everybody else is, right? And the other thing is, we don't always know that we need to actually outwardly express our affection for the people that we like and love. We might experience that as being self-evident, just something that we feel internally, and we don't always realize that we need to verbalize that or outwardly express that in some way for the other person to know that that's how we feel about them. So that's another thing that we have to learn to keep in mind, is that people don't always automatically know how much they mean to us. We have to tell them, at least in some way, right? And the other thing I'll leave you with is that, once again, if you're a writer, see these pillows behind me, this beanbag chair, the curtains and everything, your job is to see it in a dormant state and see it as your job to wake it up in your next piece of writing.